Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
It's just so important to believe in yourself, and if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more, as always. My name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and conversational fashion, because that's how we like to do things around here, and if you like how we do things, I'm assuming you do, you're listening to us right now, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, basically wherever you find your podcasts. And plus, you can also find every single one of our episodes archived over on our YouTube channel at In the Seats. And if you could subscribe to that too, that'd be great. You can also find us on social media. You can do that over at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at either at In the Seats or at It's Podcast One for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, I say this a lot, but it's true. Most importantly, please pay us a visit over at intheseats.ca with all the latest and greatest reviews, news from movies, television, basically the moving image, because that's what we love to write about, and we love it when you come read about it. So please come on by and pay us a visit. On this one, we got a fun one. It's on VOD now. We're looking at the film Golden Arm, which it's a bit of a chick comedy. It's a bit of a girl comedy, but it's so funny, and it's this empowering story of a young woman who she's at a bit of a crossroads, as it were, in life, and we all hit those from time to time. Played by the fantastic Mary Holland, and she finds her tough lady trucker friend who decides to turn her into this champion arm wrestler, and they go on a journey to the National Ladies Arm Wrestling Championship. It's from director Maureen Bahucha. It stars Mary Holland, Betsy Sidaro, and a lot of other fantastic comedy people who just can't get enough of. It is a hilarious, but also, appropriate and kind of empowering movie too. The ladies can go arm wrestle too if they want. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And we had the distinct pleasure of sitting down and talking with star Mary Holland, who plays Melanie, the star of our film, who turns from wimp to arm wrestling champion. And it's feminist, it's funny, and I didn't think the world needed a feminist version of Over the Top, but I was wrong. And we talked with Melanie just about doing the movie and sort of experiences therein, and we did talk about Over the Top, because how can we not? It's the elephant in the room when you're dealing with an arm wrestling movie. But this is such a charming and fantastic film. It's on VOD now, Golden Arm. I do recommend you go check it out. But first, I would recommend you check out our talk with Mary Holland, who is just the best and the funniest, and someone I'll probably never get to interview again, because she's going to be a big star sooner rather than later. So, and I hope you enjoy this talk, because I certainly know that I did. Now, I mean, obviously, thank you for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure.
I love this film.
Did you?
I was howling. I loved it. I mean, it's rare to get such a balance of like sweet but silly and earnest sort of all wrapped up into one. And I'm kind of curious, like, how did you ultimately find the story? Did they chase you? Were you chasing it? Give me the backstory.
Oh, I was chasing. I chased it. I chased it. So Maureen Barucha, the director, I've known for many years, a very good friend, and Betsy Sidaro, I've also known for like a decade. We're in the improv comedy scene in LA together, and so Maureen sent me this script and was like, I'm directing this movie. Betsy is going to play Danny. Would you be interested in auditioning for Melanie? And I mean, right off the bat, I was like, yes, yes. But then I read the script and it was so fun. And I love sports movies. And of course, the opportunity to do a buddy comedy with Betsy Sidaro is like, you don't pass up on that opportunity. So all of like there were so many aspects of it that I was just so excited about, and I said I really wanted to audition for it. I did a chemistry read with Betsy, and then we had such a blast. And then I did write a letter to the producers where I was like, please let me do this. um I really wanted it so badly. So I was for sure the chaser.
It really felt like it was a film where you were encouraged to sort of lean into those sport movie tropes.
Yes.
How kind of fun was it to sort of not just acknowledge it with like a sly wink, but sort of do it in a very sort of honest way at the same time?
Oh my gosh, that I mean, yes. I As I said, sports movies were some of the first comedies I watched growing up, because a lot of kids movies are sports movies,
Yeah.
and so they're really significant to me. And I think part of the balance that I remember they strike in those sports movies that were so formative for me growing up was that balance of like the humor of it and the comedy of it and the characters within it, but still the earnestness of pursuing a goal and achieving that goal. And I think Golden Arm does such a great job of striking that balance as well, of like the fun of this world and the having fun with the silliness and the goofiness, but still the earnestness of the sport and the courage to like show up and get on the mat. All of that is really sincere, and I think it's very moving.
Well, and I mean, something else that I really loved about it is just it's not a film that, I mean, obviously it's, you're getting inspired, you got to raise money, do this, that, and the other. But the second you meet a guy, it doesn't turn into that,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was such a good change. That sort of stayed in the background. It was about your character sort of finding herself and finding her courage.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really our director Maureen Barucha was so cognizant of that and so aware of the real love story of this movie is Melanie and Danny,
Of course, yeah.
and Melanie with on this journey with herself. And I think the relationship with Greg is very much it's a wonderful element of it. And I think for Melanie it serves as kind of her discover this awakening that she experiences with him. But the overall point of it, yeah, is her finding her courage to just be in her life and be confident and try things and not be afraid to fail. Um, so yes, I'm so glad that you picked up on that and enjoyed that as well, because that's one of my favorite elements of it is how that is buoying the story, but isn't the point of the story at all.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean,
Yeah.
okay, this is a bit of a loaded question, but I have to ask it because I mean, in sort of pop culture history, there's not necessarily a lot of arm wrestling movies, but I mean, the one that comes to mind to me in the past is Stallone and Over the Top, and I'm kind
Of
of
course.
curious, did you watch it beforehand, or did you get to see it after, or like how?
Oh, yeah, I watched it beforehand. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are many instances in Golden Arm when I look just like Sylvester Stallone. um, yes, I loved that movie. That movie is it is the big rig, the truck, the like father son bonding, the like truck stop arm wrestling. It's such a fun world, and I think Golden Arm does a great job of giving a nod to that, like getting to dip our toes into that world a bit, and then have a new take on it. But yes, I did watch it. That you got to watch Over the Top. If you haven't seen Over the Top, you need to see it.
I got to imagine this is probably a very fun shoot, sort of one where you're probably having a hard time keeping a straight face during the middle of
Yes.
shooting.
Very much so. Yeah, it was a real party start to finish. The Our director again, Maureen, encouraged us all. She populated the cast with a lot of comedians and people who have improv experience and would feel comfortable playing with their characters and um, going off script and then coming back to the script, and that having that sort of looseness. And so it was all of us, like crew, cast, all of us were encouraged to bring ideas to the table, try things, and really make the story our own. So we had so much fun. And Betsy Sidaro made me laugh so hard I cried many times.
Well, I
No
mean,
surprise there.
that's what I love about comedy, because I mean, it's in one thing, it's, everyone doing it is having fun, but at the same time, there is you respect the craft of it so much, because you still have to keep a straight face. You still have to sort of sell
Yeah.
do it. It's not just 90 minutes of you all goofing off. There is sort of the straight line that needs to sort of drive the narrative, which a lot of people
Yes.
forget about.
Yes. And I think one part of our process that I think really served that purpose was we would Maureen and Betsy and I, and in any scene, Maureen would always have a moment with the actors where we would talk through like what's happening in this scene, how is it moving the story forward, and where are our characters at in this moment, a check-in to like make sure we were doing that, of like tracking the narrative and having those fun moments happen, but still have this driving engine that is moving it forward. Yeah, it was I mean, I can't believe I thinking about the scenes that we shot for a whole day in the cab of the big rig with no AC in July in Oklahoma, up and down Route 66. Time of my life. Time of my life. It was so fun. We just riffed and riffed and riffed. And I think also, like, I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but with Danny and Melanie, I think they have such a long history together, and such their friendship has spanned so many years, that I think Maureen encouraging us to improvise and like play was so much a part of building that dynamic between the two of them, because it's so playful.
For sure. Now, I mean, I have to ask this, because I mean, obviously this is a big movie for you, but Happiest Season was also a big movie for you.
Yes.
And both have come out during a time when we're not allowed to go anywhere. And I'm
Right.
kind of curious, how has sort of this year sort of been for you? Because obviously there's two very different pieces of work that you're obviously very proud of, but again, it almost feels like you're being held back, I can imagine, in a way, just to be able to run out and sort of scream it from the mountaintops about it.
Yeah. I mean, with Happiest Season, it was a bummer not to get to see it in the movie theater,
Yeah.
but there was something really perfect about that specific movie being able to be enjoyed at home when people are with their families over the holidays, where they can be safe and they can be in the comfort of their homes. That I think that movie, Christmas movies in general feel so cozy to
Yeah.
us. Like they're very comforting. And so I think the movie being experienced in that way really, really worked for that specific movie. And I'm so glad that it was accessible on Hulu and was accessible to so many people for that reason as well.
Now I'm curious, because I mean, I've always had more respect for actors who start off in comedy first, because it just seems it's a harder road to travel. And I'm kind of curious, for you, what is it about sort of the comedy upbringing that maybe sort of prepares you for other work?
I mean, yeah, there are so many aspects to comedy that I think serve all types of storytelling. Some of the skills I think that comedy has taught me is this idea of really being able to be present in a moment, to react and have a specific emotional reaction to a stimuli. I think that kind of spontaneity and presentness serves all kinds of stories, dramas, horror movies, all of that. It is a really specific skill that works for comedy and helps comedy land, but it also, I think, works in all these different realms as well.
I love that. That's a great answer because I mean, it's one of those things where, again, it's being cognizant of sort of the bigger picture, and but again, also
Mhm.
the smaller part. Because I mean, especially in these two films, I like for me personally, I felt like you were the scene stealer in both films. But in one, you're a supporting player, sort of having to be more in the background, and here you're the lead. But it's still really one of those things where it comedy shows you how to make a mark, even if you've got one line or if you've got 100 lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, I think that is very true. Another thing that I've learned about comedy that I think is speaking to your point there is specificity.
Yeah,
Specific specifics make comedy work. And so I think that bringing that sensibility to any character will help ground it and make that character work within the story in the way that they're meant to.
for sure. Now, I mean, this is a silly question, but I always like to ask it. Thinking back in your life, like, is there a moment or like a show or a film or like something in your life that was sort of the pivot point for you to go, you know what? I'm going to go do that.
Ugh, I I I feel like I've known it forever. I feel like I loved movies growing up. I would go to the video rental store and I would rent the same movie over and over and over and over and over again. Um, and so I feel like it was just something that I knew. I don't remember one specific moment when I was like, oh, this. It was just an inherent like, and that's what I'll do. Like I've always it's just always been a truth for me, I feel like. But that being said, so many movies I watched growing up that I was like, "Oh, this," like, for some reason, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles really comes to mind.
I
The
love it.
Secret of the Ooze
Oh, totally.
specifically.
Yeah.
Um, I would act out that movie, like, after watching it, I would act it out, and just by myself, like, my siblings didn't really humor me with that. So I would just by myself I love worlds. I love atmospheres and worlds and stories. And so I think that's just something I don't know what I would be doing if I weren't doing this. I'm so lucky that I'm able to do it. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It does very much so. And I mean, it goes back to just sort of understanding sort of the process of making films and understanding what sells and what doesn't. Because I mean, I look at something like Golden Arm and I look at something like Happiest Season. They exist in an archetype of like the holiday movie or the sports movie, but they're doing very different things. And I'm kind of
Mhm.
curious, as not just a performer, but a writer as well, how important is it for you to try to make stuff that, on one end, okay, I can sell this, but I'm creatively doing enough interesting and different things inside of that box to sort of satisfy myself.
Right. Right. Like understanding what my function as a character in the story is, and then also bringing additional elements to that go beyond just
For
the
sure.
function of the story.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, again, I do think that I really think the improv background is such a huge part of that. As an improviser, it's such a collaborative art form. You're building something from nothing with a group of people. And so there's a real sense, I think, of how important commitment is. And I
Mm,
think that is something that I'm always aware of when I'm working on writing something or acting in something is committing as hard as I can to whatever I'm doing. And so I think that does sort of manifest in like having the function of the character in the story, but then also along with that commitment, there's like I'm gonna try to make this person as fleshed out as I can, so that in every moment they're living. They're never a character that just shuts down when they're not in a scene or they're not saying something. They're always living in the world. Um, yeah.
Is that sort of improvisational muscle one you can turn off? Because I mean, I can imagine it's a different experience, like say if you're in a sound booth with, cans on watching something that you're doing a voice for versus being on set.
Yes, absolutely. I guess the answer to that is no. I can't really turn it
That's a good
off.
thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think too, like it really just helps. Even if I'm not, even if we don't end up, even if I'm told, like after we run a scene or something, and the director's like, stick to the script. Having the moment of getting to play around a little bit just helps me like be like, okay, I know this character, and now I can like deliver those lines, knowing being even clearer on the point of view, from getting to like play with it a little bit in my head. So yeah, so I don't know that I'll ever be able to turn it off.
Now, okay, here's the next question. How do you sort of define yourself? Like, are you a comedian? Are you a performer? Are you an actor? Are you a writer? Like, if you had to pigeonhole yourself into one box,
Oh
would
my
you,
gosh,
or what
impossible!
would
An impossible task. I mean, I feel like an a- actor is because I want to be able to do all the things, and I hope that I'll be able to, or get the opportunity to. But um, yeah,
but and you know what? I think the comedy background is what gives you those tools because, like you said before,
yeah,
it really is that thing there where you're understanding sort of the entire range of the human emotions and understanding the spectrum of where you have to go with the character. And I love your work and I love this film and I love
thank you,
Happiest
David.
Season. I just want to say thank you so much for the time. This is
Thank you,
this is a lot of fun.
David.
I'm looking forward to the next thing, no matter what it is.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was so fun talking with you. I'm so
Likewise.
glad you liked the movie.
Thanks again, Mary.
Thank you.
All right. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.